There are many ways to become a better runner, but there is one way that is better than all the others, and perhaps the only advice you need to become a better runner who can run both longer and faster. Are you ready? Here it comes. Run more. And that's it. Nothing has as much of an impact of your performance as a runner as how much you run each week. Do you run 2 times a week, sometimes 3 right now? Well, then run 3 times a week, maybe 4. Do you already run 4 times a week? Well, run 5. Do 6 sessions a week. Of course, this is individual, and after a while, with only increasing the volume, it can also be good to vary the sessions a bit, like running really fast sometimes and really far sometimes. But in principle, there is a linear relationship between how much you run each week and how good a runner you are. It looks like this. This is the axis of how good a runner you are, and this is the axis of how much you run. From a purely statistic point of view, the conditions are linear. Here, a quote now from the Swedish philosopher, guitarist, Yngwie Malmsteen, who said in an interview, "Sometimes people say that less is more. That is not true. Less can never be more. More is more." I love this quote, and it's also perfect for how to become a better runner. But it was also a way for me to show that I have a picture of me and Yngwie Malmsteen in a golden frame on the wall in my study at home. But he's right. Growing up, he played guitar for 10, 12, 14 hours a day and dropped out of school when he was around 15 years old and just played guitar from the time he woke up till the time he went to sleep. He also got pretty good at playing guitar. More is better. More is more. At least as long as you don't get injured because you increase the volume way too much and way too fast, which of course can be a problem. There is a Swedish study where they simply asked a large number of male runners how many kilometers they ran on average each week. And that was over a long period of time, and what time they did in a marathon. What they came up with was that if you want to run a marathon in 3 hours, or rather 2:59:59, no one wants to run in exactly 3 hours. You want to go sub 3 hours. But anyway, statistically speaking, you have to run 70 or maybe 8 kilometers per week. That's 44 up to 49 miles per week on average. Statistically speaking, there will always be runners who do sub 3 in a marathon with less running than that, and those who never can do it no matter how much they run. But as I said, statistically speaking, that's probably how much running that is required for a 3-hour marathon. I'm sorry I don't have the numbers for the women because they were not included in that study. But always listen to Yngwie Malmsteen. More is more even for women. And this of course applies even if you don't run as far as a marathon. The Olympic gold medalist in 1500 meter, the Norwegian Jakob Ingebrigtsen, told in podcasts in 2021 that he normally runs around 180 kilometers a week. That's 111 miles per week, and that he already when he was 10 years old he ran between 120 and 140 kilometers per week, and that's about 75 to 86 miles per week as a 10-year-old. He went full Yngwie Malmsteen on the running. But does the Yngwie Malmsteen more is more also apply to normal recreational runners like you and me? And the answer is... well, yes, of course it does. And even more so. We can now look at a study with 500 recreational runners in Japan, where they looked at how they trained up to a marathon and what times they got in the race. After the race, they divided the runners into groups based on how much they ran on average each week. It turned out that those who ran the least averaged the slowest time in the race. And the runners who were in the group that ran the second least had better time on average than those who ran the least, but slower times than the runners in the groups that ran more. Although there were of course individual differences, the average time followed the pattern. The more they ran each week, the better their time in the race. So it didn't really matter how they got their kilometers or miles with running a little bit every day, or just a few longer sessions or hill sprints or whatever. But if we look within each group, there were differences. Those who spread out their total running volume by having one long session and then shorter sessions, they had better times in the race than those who ran about the same number of kilometers miles at each session, even though that the total volume of the both persons were equal. So if we have two runners, both run like 30 kilometers a week, if you spread them out doing 10, 10, 10 in 3 sessions, or one long run and 2 shorter ones, the person with the long run will have a better time in the marathon. So don't skip your long runs, even if you have a big volume in total. In this Japanese study, as I said, there were recreational runners. Those who ran most had a volume about 50 kilometers, 31 miles per week, which is perfectly fine, but not really super much. And then in the other groups they ran less. And the average time of the participants in the study at the marathon race was about 4:20. So if you are fast and have high goals and already run quite a lot, this may not apply to you as much to the same extent, or maybe it does. But in principle, you can say that recreational runners who run more kilometers, miles each week have faster times in marathons than those who run fewer kilometers, miles. And as I said, if you run longer distances and you want to do a marathon race, it seems that the long runs are quite important, even if you have the same total volume during a week as those who split it up in smaller parts. And there you have it. If you want to become a better long distance runner, the absolutely best way is to run more. Listen to Yngwie Malmsteen. More is more. Although it is also the case that the risk of injuries goes up quite a lot when you increase the volume. And if you're going to run long races, such as a marathon, you should not skip your long runs. Run more, don't skip the long runs, and that's it. Thank you for today. Have a nice run. I really hope you liked that video, and if you did, you please click the like button and maybe also the subscribe button so you don't miss any more videos here on my channel. And if you are interested in my online course, you find all the information about that one in the description below.